Maths Olympiad Class 8. Data Handling, Visualizing Solid Shapes, and Introduction to Graphs.
Collection and tabulation of data. Data. The word data means information in the form of numerical figures or a set of given information. Raw data. Data obtained in the original form is called a raw data. Array. Arranging the numerical figures of a data in ascending or descending order is called an array. Tabulation. Arranging the data in a systematic tabular form is called tabulation or presentation of the data. Observation. Each numerical figure in a data is called an observation. Frequency. The number of times a particular observation occurs is called its frequency. Range. The difference between the highest and the lowest value of the observations in a given data is called its range. Frequency distribution. A table showing the frequencies of various observations of data is called a frequency distribution or simply a frequency table. Tally marks. When the number of observations is large, we make use of tally marks to find the frequencies. Tallies are usually marked in a bunch of 5 for the case of counting. Grouped data. When the list of observations is long, the data is usually organized into groups called class intervals, and the data so obtained is called a grouped data. The lower value of a class interval is called its lower limit, and the upper value is called its upper limit. The difference between the upper and the lower class limits is called the width or the size of the class interval. The mid value of a class interval is called its class mark. Graphical representation. A histogram is a pictorial representation of the grouped data in which class intervals are taken along the horizontal axis and class frequencies along the vertical axis, and for each class a rectangle is constructed with base as the class interval and heights determined from the class frequency. In a bar graph, bars of uniform width are drawn with various heights. The heights of a column represents the frequency of the corresponding observation. In a pie chart, the values of different components are represented by the sectors of a circle. The total angle of 360 degrees at the center of a circle is divided according to the values of the components. Central angle for a component is equal to value of the component divided by total value into 360 degrees. Pie chart. Pie chart represents data in relative quantities by using the areas of sectors in a circle. In pie chart, quantities of data are related to the size of angles of sectors. The formula to find the size of the angle of a sector is angle of the sector is equal to quantity represented by the sector divided by total quantity into 360 degrees. Experiment. An experiment is a situation involving chance or probability that leads to results called outcomes. Outcome. An outcome is the result of a single trial of an experiment. Event. An event is one or more outcomes of an experiment. Probability. Probability is the measure of how likely an event is. The probability of event A is the number of ways A can occur divided by the total number of possible outcomes. P of A is equal to the number of ways event A can occur divided by the total number of possible outcomes. Random experiment. A random experiment is one whose outcomes have an equal change of occurring. Equally likely outcomes. The outcomes of an event with same probability to occur are known as equally likely outcomes. Geometrical shapes. 3D shapes. Description of solid shapes. Polyhedron. A solid figure bounded by plane polygonal faces. The point at which three or more faces intersect on a polyhedron is called a vertex. A line along which two faces intersect in a polyhedron is called an edge. Regular polyhedron. A polyhedron with all its faces as regular polygons is called a regular polyhedron. This polyhedron is regular. Its faces are congruent regular polygons. Vertices are formed by the same number of faces. This polyhedron is not regular. All the sides are congruent, but the vertices are not formed by the same number of faces. Hence, three faces meet at A, but four faces meet at B. Convex polyhedron. A polyhedron in which a line segment connecting any two vertices of a polyhedron contains only points that are on a face or inside the polyhedron. Prism is a polyhedron with two parallel opposite faces called bases that are congruent polygons, and the lateral faces are parallelograms. Pyramid, a solid figure formed by connecting every point on or interior to a plane polygon to a single point not in the plane. Euler's formula for convex polyhedron. F plus V is equal to E plus 2, where F is the number of faces, V is the number of vertices, and E is the number of edges. Bar graph. A bar graph is used to show comparison among categories. Pie graph. A pie graph is used to compare parts of whole. Histogram. Representation that shows data in intervals. Line graph. It shows data that changes continuously over a period of time. Linear graph. A straight line graph is called as a linear graph. The Cartesian system. Advantages and disadvantages of various graphs are given in the table.